Welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to take a look at the steering because it's got issues. Before we get over to the steering, check out the workbench. Got the bell housing installed. I guess I had that cover on upside down, but it's got a couple new screws. That just makes it look that much closer to installing, doesn't it? It just adds something to it. So over here on the Jeep, I've been doing a little bit of looking, and unfortunately, things don't look all that good. So first and foremost, it's been leaking for a while, obviously. Second, there's a grease zerk there. You're supposed to put oil in your steering box, not grease. Third, that pitman arm does not look correct for this vehicle, and neither does this drag link that's attached to the bell crank over here. So, steering is very, very questionable at this point. It's been a minute since I've been in here. I do need to clean it all up. I do need to swap out these Bluetooth engine mounts. It's not supposed to be that way. Speaking of things that aren't supposed to be that way, is the drag link supposed to be bent like that? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, I'm liking this setup less and less. But it was being used this way, so maybe it's okay enough. I'm starting to become a purist though. I want to do it right. But if you've been following the project for a while, you know why I have to fix this one way or another. But for any of you who are new here, I'm turning the wheel a lot. That tire is not moving. I could drive down the road like this and still be driving in a straight line. So yeah, there is something going on in this box. The sector shaft is probably worn out. The worm gear might be worn, I don't know. But we're gonna have to get this thing unbolted and take it all apart and dig into this, because something's not right and it may be worse than I thought. But at the very least, man, that is a sweet looking engine, and it's gonna look really sweet attached to that, isn't it? Let's knock some topsoil off of this. What is that, a 3/4? Nope. What is that, a 7/8? Nope. And that looks to be a 15/16, the one thing I don't have. Well, sure enough. Alright, I did go ahead and put a couple of center punch marks there just to give me an idea of where the splines will need to go. Alright, let's get the 1/2 in here. There we go. I can save this welting. It is dry and brittle. But here it is. So I'm looking for the bolts for my steering wheel puller. And I remember that I robbed them for some reason. Couldn't remember what the heck project I was working on. And then I look over here at the engine stand. Oh, that's where they went. Great. I'll spare the details, but a 2-jaw puller just saved my butt. Alright, and here is our steering wheel with anti-seize that was supposed to prevent this from being so hard to pull off. Let's get these turn signals out of here. I really hate to do this because that horn works, and it didn't work when I got the Jeep, but oh well. Yep, and here we go. I think I mentioned, or I hope I mentioned, that there are shims. These are underneath that like innermost bolt, and these help set the exact angle for this steering column to the frame. You need to save these and make sure you put them right back where you found them. They didn't come off at first because they were stuck to the frame with all this gunk. So yeah, don't forget these. Well, that looks a little bit different. Don't go anywhere. So I needed to clear off the workbench so I can work on the steering box now. So the transmission and the transfer case just had to go hang out somewhere else. Get it? Hang out because they're hanging out of the... This is why I haven't quit my day job. This is nice. It's been literally months since I've been able to put something on the workbench that wasn't a transmission or a transfer case. So here's the grease zerk. That's not supposed to be here. Packed solid with grease. That's incorrect. You're supposed to use oil. Oh, I'm afraid to, but let's crack into this and see how bad it is. There we go. To the last guy who was in here, kudos on your job of sealing it up. Oh, yeah, this is not what we wanted to see, but I expected this. Not supposed to be filled with grease, but it's filled with grease. If you think it looks awful, imagine how bad it smells. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. That took a minute. I wish Derek from Vice Grip Garage was here. He would come up with something completely accurate to explain the smell. All right, let's get this sector shaft out of here. Let's degrease it and find out how bad these are. Well, friends, I am genuinely confused. I'll need to take some measurements, but these don't look as bad as I was expecting. I've seen pictures where these things are worn down to nothing but nubs, but these seriously don't look as bad as I expected. So what is causing this thing to be so loose and sloppy? Weird. Well, with some of the burnt peanut butter out of the way, we can start to see the worm gear. It's actually kind of currently working like an Archimedes screw to move this grease around. Well, this is what happens when a quick and easy revival project becomes a multi-year endeavor. So here's my original sector shaft, which I expected to be destroyed here. It's been a couple of years, but I went ahead and bought this sector shaft replacement kit. I didn't realize it, but it came with the bushings, it came with the seal, it came with the gasket that got a little bit on the destroyed side, just in shipping, I guess. It could maybe be flattened out or used as a template. But yeah, I forgot that these were here. So I'd already bought a rebuild kit that contained everything, including these. So worst case, I have a spare set for if I screw something up. Now, a few years back, there was a major hubbub on the internet in certain Jeep forums where a guy bought an overseas version of a sector shaft, installed it, and the dang thing snapped within a few miles, or maybe he didn't even make it out of the driveway in that one specific instance. But the reason for that is that the supplier, in that case, was making these out of two pieces. They had the flat piece on the bottom, they had the shaft machined separately, and they just welded them on. And that was not a smart move on their part because they'll just snap right off under the force. So you got to make sure that whatever replacement you get is cast out of one solid piece, and this one does appear to be cast out of one solid piece. Functionally, they look to be pretty much identical. And again, not nearly as much wear as I thought they would be on these. This GoPro won't zoom, but I can see the wear patterns. You probably won't be able to. But on this underside, you can see the discoloration of the metal, and suddenly it's nice and polished. And if you looked at the side, you could see that it was trapezoidal, and then as you rotate it on this side, it just becomes a little bit concave on this side. So I guess I'm just overall confused as to what is going on here. The sector shaft does not look all that bad. The worm gear certainly doesn't look bad at all, though I'm still trying to clean it up and get a good inspection on that. I guess now that I actually look at the shaft, yeah, it's not supposed to have a mark on it like that. Honestly, that's probably just from it sitting parked for a really long time, because that's where the groove is for the oil that wasn't in it because grease. But really, there's no major scoring. I mean, there's wear. It kind of catches on the fingernails here, but it's possible that could polish out. I'm gonna jump ahead here. I've already got the outer tube off and I've hosed it down with some degreaser. It was just, there's a little clip here, 3 bolts, slides right off, nothing too crazy. This is one of those things you gotta pay attention though. Here's the top of the tube. Here's that bearing at the top. This is crispy, but I've got it freed up. I guess perhaps it's also notable. I don't know if this camera's gonna pick up on that, but my outer tube is bent. How does that even happen? I don't know, but I'm gonna mark that as a problem for future Bradley, or maybe no one. I think we'll just send it. Let's try to get all these ball bearings out without dropping them everywhere. Months ago, I almost bought a parts washer. Almost. I didn't, because I figured most of my major grease work was done, but I may have been wrong. I'm gonna be here a while. I won't record this for your sake. So I excavated the seal, and what do you know? It looks to be on backwards. Go figure. Well, let's get this show on the road. Soak those in some purple power and in the ultrasonic cleaner. I guess while the ultrasonic cleaner is doing its thing, I'll just sit here and not do anything to this at all, right? Yeah, of course I wasn't gonna let that slide. That had to be cleaned up. Yep, wouldn't be one of my projects unless I just made it like new. Not perfect, but pretty good. Yeah, this thing's gonna clean up nicely. So here's another lesson in buying parts. These look new, but these are not. These are the old ones. Trapped beneath all that grease were some perfectly good parts. There's no rust, no pitting, no significant pitting. There's a couple, but it's nothing. Underneath all the goo, there wasn't a dang thing wrong with any of these ball bearings. I bought a set of new ones, but there wasn't anything wrong with the old ones whatsoever. I bought them preemptively thinking I would need them, and sure enough, I did not. So I guess that means I have parts for the next Jeep. With just a few more hours work, this will be basically like new. far cry from where it was. I guess since there was no reason to unload these to begin with, let's get them loaded back up. There were 11 ball bearings on each side, and I will put 11 back. Snap rings in. Feels fine. Let's get this last snap ring on. And there we go. These will work just fine. Back to the sector shaft. Literally all I have done is taken a piece of 600 grit sandpaper and gave it a quick polish. And that rust came right off. The grooves came right off. You can see a shadow of where they used to be, but your finger doesn't even catch them anymore. There's nothing wrong with this. It's going right back in. I don't know if it was original or what, one piece or two piece, but I mean, you can see a little bit of a rust spot or a rust ring around here. I get the feeling that maybe as originally manufactured, it was two pieces, not one cast piece, but you can clearly see, not on the GoPro of course, but the shaft that was pressed onto this cast piece, it's almost like a wheel stud being pressed into a hub. It's got those grooves, the splines, actually just like something like this. So I'm pretty confident I'll probably never have a break from this style. But that's going right back in. Well, the video is starting to get a little bit long, so I think I'm going to call it here for part one. I know from the analytics that the longer form videos don't do as well as the more shortened, condensed ones, so I'll just call this for now. We're at a good stopping point. Everything has been disassembled, cleaned up, some paint is done, and I've started reassembly. In part two, we'll go ahead and finish the reassembly and get it back on the Jeep. And then maybe we'll be ready for an engine swap. I don't know, we'll see. But thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, informative, entertaining, if you wouldn't mind, leave me a like and leave me a comment down below. It really does help the channel grow. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.